Hello, Eugene. It's good to have you on the podcast today. And if you'd like to just introduce yourself real quickly of who you are and where you come from, what you do, how you serve the world.
Hey, Wes. Yes, thank you for having me here. Eugene Gershman, GIS Companies. We are a real estate development services company, and we help owners with realizing that they can develop their projects. We grew up from a construction family. I joined my father's construction company. I used to run contractor operations for some time, and now focus 100% on development. So definitely familiar with the industry. It's funny you asked me to introduce myself. I was at Biz Now panel last week, and everybody was introducing themselves, and I'm sitting on stage with a microphone, and I'm like, I'm just a broke real estate developer waiting for the market to turn so that we could go to work again.
Yeah, it's an interesting time to be alive in a whole lot of ways. Certainly in real estate, all around the
Exactly.
world, there's different challenges, headwinds, and opportunities. There's always opportunities any difficult time. So I'm talking with construction people all around the world, obviously through this podcast, and it feels as though that's consistent across the board. Canada's got their own challenges. Australia has their challenges. The US, obviously, where you are, has challenges. So this show is really about looking at these things and how the construction companies, tradespeople, we call them tradies here in Australia, but anyone to do with the construction field can accelerate their business growth and learn from others, fields of expertise. So Built, Trusted and Chosen is the show. So perhaps we'll open up with Built. What are you building and who do you build them for and those sorts of things?
Yeah, so right now we're mostly between projects, so no active construction going on today. What we have built in the past is everywhere. So when I first joined my father's construction company, he's been building massive projects from big apartment buildings to like one of the biggest projects that I actually got to participate in a little bit was a chemical plant. That was a cool, complicated deal. But then when we started doing our own development jobs, a lot of single family homes, because we have seen and we have worked on complicated sites before. Some of our first residential projects were very difficult. Like we chose sites with super steep slopes, and everybody was telling me, "You're crazy. What are you doing? It's going to be impossible. It's going to be super difficult." I'm like, dude, we've built buildings on piles in the tundra. Like I can figure out how to build a house on a slope. That not And from engineering standpoint, it wasn't that complicated. It just required 75 piles going down like 75 feet, roughly, what is it, 25 meters, right? So it was expensive, but yeah, so those are the type of projects we've done. Since then, we've done more simple, podium style apartment buildings. We've done another cool project in the past where we built a mixed use residential building. It was a mid-rise, but we built it on a 5,000 square foot lot. So like 500 square meter piece of land. And that was very challenging. It was like literally postage stamp. The architect, when he was describing it, he said, we're building, what did he say? 10,000 pounds of program in a 5,000 pound site. So he had some analogy like that, but it was complicated. It was more like we described it as doing a yacht design, where you literally needed to think of every like vertical and horizontal space because it was super tight.
Yeah, well, I suppose you touch on something really interesting, and so the bigger the problem that you're solving, the greater the potential for a viable business, because that's what business is all about. It's solving other people's problems, and when you've got expertise in a field and you've done it before and you've done similar scenarios, you can bring a level of expertise that other people wouldn't have. So it's interesting, those complex projects that you work on. Getting those things wrong is incredibly expensive. So it's important to hire the right people
That's
to
right. That's
help
right.
help that kind of stuff. Yeah.
all those private colleges with their crazy expensive tuition won't prepare you for mistakes that you can make in the field.
Yeah, I know. It's exactly right. Lessons learned the hard way are always the best lessons, although they're the hard way. It's it's not
They're
ideal,
the
but
most
if you can learn from other people's mistakes as well. But tell
exactly.
me, have you picked up any projects from other people that have been a horror story, or heard of anything on the ground that has gone horribly wrong when people haven't got the right advice?
Oh, I mean, all the time. So we pivoted a few years ago. It wasn't a pivot back then. We pivoted, frankly, later. But a few years ago, we found this niche where a few landowners would approach us and ask us to help them structure deals, get financing, and co-develop with them. And so that's how we started growing our development company. And since then, we shut down our construction company and went uh, 100% in development management deals for others. But to answer your question, one example was we had this owner who came to us with an apartment building site that he already had permitted. And the first thing that he told us is he was bragging about how little he paid to his architect to design that building. And we're like, I mean, literally, it was, I'm trying to remember, it was like a $30 million project. And he says, I negotiated him down to $500,000, all in architecture, engineering, everything. And we're running the numbers. I'm like, that's really low.
Yeah,
Well,
what corners were cut? That's the big question.
that's the thing. I mean, later when the project failed and I was talking to the architect, I'm like, what the happened here? Why is the set of plans so bad? He's like, well, dude, the owner didn't want to pay me. So we cut as many corners as we could just to get him the permit. So we gave him the building permit, but that was not a buildable set. I don't know.
Right.
Like literally, it was like maybe 75% CD. It was barely good enough to get a permit, but it had so many holes in it that
Yeah.
we ended up paying for dearly. And the mistake on my part was to not put enough time on because we were the GC on that job. I should have spent more time and more energy on my pre-construction team to drill down the plans, identify all the issues, and
Mm.
make sure that the design team corrected them. We try to do that to a certain degree, but not nearly enough to plug all the holes. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably the biggest one is, when you see a shitty set of plans, you
Yeah.
have to call it for what it is.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that it's reasonably common to get something done simply to get the permit across the line, but then to go back and get it done properly and what you actually want, refined and so on.
Right.
Yeah, that's that guy probably wanted to cheap out and just go with the dodgy plans and so on, and that's expensive to cut that massive corner. I suppose
Exactly.
I'm speaking to a lot of people, as I said before, around the world, and we're seeing trust eroded in lots of construction companies and anything related to construction, right down to the trades. What do you think are some of the key core elements that businesses can apply to reinstate trust and to build trust within their entities?
I honestly think the main thing is
Yeah.
relationships. It's really the only thing that can restore that trust
Mm,
because a lot of people, especially those who are not very experienced, I'm talking about clients who are not very experienced with construction and development business, they approach it, or they try to approach it like online shopping,
mm,
where you're hiding behind a computer screen. You don't want to talk to people. You think you have a product which is represented by a set of plans, and you're blindly submitting it to they are blindly submitting it to these bidders, expecting to receive a price, and they would typically choose the lowest bidder, not really understanding what they're getting. But then the guys who are bidding on that job, not necessarily that they're bad guys, but a lot of times they need to get the job. And for them to get the job, they need to get their foot through the door. And so
Mm,
they submit the lowest bid and they cut a bunch of scope out, and then they make up the difference on change orders.
yes.
And
Yeah.
and right, and then the owner gets pissed off because they expected one thing, they got another thing, and then the contractor gets pissed off is because they say, well, look, I told you I could build X for Y, but now you're asking me to build this plus more things. And
Yeah.
so without that communication, without that explanation, it's hard. And so
Yeah.
what I've been trying to do a lot is, I mean, I get to interview contractors, and I used to be a contractor, so I know exactly what to expect. And when I sit down in the room with a contractor, I say, look, I don't need you to estimate the project for me. Like literally, I don't care what you think it's going to cost. I believe that the cost of this construction is going to be what it is. All I need to see from you is what is your margin? What is your fee? How much are you charging? And I want you to estimate your GCs and GRs, uh, general requirements and general conditions. That's all I want to see from you. As far as everything else, all the sub bids, all the material takeoffs, we'll get through that. Because
Yeah.
if your number is higher than the other guy's number on some of the takeoffs, we'll get to the bottom of it. We're not going to buy more or less concrete than what we need for the job. And we're going to pay for it what the concrete costs. But I just
Yeah.
need to know how you're valuing yourself. And then, the biggest lesson for me was to not cut corners on design. And so we
Yeah.
would, these days with BIM and everything, we try to um, overlay as many trades as possible. We try to do as much material takeoff as we can to know the quantities of what we're building. But without that relationship piece, all of that is pointless.
Yeah. 100% agreed. And if you're not building solid relationships and you're not giving any additional value to the end client or customer, there's all they can do is shop on price alone, and
Right.
you're just in the race to the bottom, and you're cutting corners, and you're doing it cheaper, and therefore you're delivering a worse quality product. The customer or the client is dissatisfied and telling all their telling all their friends what a horrible job you've done. So it's a horrible spot to place your business. You've really got to find a way to elevate your perceived value, and building
Yep.
relationships is obviously the strongest and critical thing to create that reputation. We do digital marketing for trades and construction. We're seeing just an influx of messaging online. So this AI produced content, it's just overwhelming, and that's eroding trust as well. So there's just
Right.
so much overwhelm and confusion and frustration in every industry, but particularly in trades and construction, where people don't really understand the process and what it takes and so on. So it is a really uh, big mistake if you're not positioning yourself well enough. So you've got to compete on
Yep.
price. And then if something goes wrong, so there's something blows out a little bit, you haven't got the margin to work with and the wiggle room to get it done right. We had a lot of companies go out of business in Australia, builders, because of the building materials went through the roof sort of overnight, it felt like. And everyone had, well, a lot of companies would have fixed price contracts, which obviously some of them could wear it and ride it out, but others just sunk and left people in the lurch with a half-built
Yep.
product. So that erodes trust. Not having the right margins in place and not positioning yourself so you can sell at that higher level,
Yep.
they're huge trust, cause a whole bunch of issues.
Well, and to that point, we tell our clients all the time, look, when you are looking for that lowest bidder and when you want to fix that price at the very bottom, look at what is happening. The reason the guy gave you the lowest bid is either because they missed something or because you missed something. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, there's okay. There's a little bit of the margin game, right? Maybe one guy has 10% margin, the other guy has 8% margin. Okay, fine. You could potentially compare the two bids based on, and that's exactly why I'm only asking for their fee. Tell me how much fee you're charging on this job so that I could compare you to others. Everything else, if one guy underestimated the volume of concrete or lumber or whatever material, or something was missed on the plans, and that contractor didn't have enough experience to know that they need to budget for the sidewalk around the building because the plans only show the sidewalk on one side. I'm making stuff up, right? But uh, just because you locked in the contractor at that price, if that contractor is unable to perform, what is your recourse? Changing
Yeah.
contractors mid job is extremely difficult, expensive, and lengthy. I would
Yeah.
never recommend that to anybody.
Yeah.
Then
100%.
trying to trying to go after them. I mean,
Mm.
who are you going after? If they fold that LLC tomorrow, that's not going to help you. Yes, you
Mm.
have that piece of paper. Maybe you'll win in court, but the reality is, if you maintain that relationship, if you maintain civil and friendly, and work with people who definitely have experience and you know exactly what you're buying, that is going to
Mm.
prevent so many problems. And
Yeah.
really, that's the only thing that is going to build and maintain trust is face to face. You can't build a building behind a computer.
Yeah.
It's like, as a client and as a business leader, if you're in construction, you have to be at the job site. Right, it's
Yeah.
just it's impossible. During COVID, we had a bunch of especially younger project managers and project engineers keep asking us, "Okay, can it work from home?" I'm like, get your ass out of the job site. No, you can't build it from home.
Yeah, I know, I know. Other people are working home. Why can't I?
Right.
Yeah. Well, you've got to see what's going on right on site because you just can't see otherwise what's going on.
Right.
It's an interesting thing, and so the one thing we know to be true with construction and all the trades is everybody talks in the field. So you can so quickly either gain or lose reputation, and people end up working with their preferred set of providers. So if you can build long-term relationships, as you say, it's not just that one project or sale that you're making, it's all the things that knock on from that person that you connected with and working with, but all the word of mouth and reputation that's built off that one project. It's a powerful
Exactly.
thing, building trust. What do you think some of the other key things are in getting chosen to be worked with in the first instance for trades and construction?
I mean, experience,
Yeah.
experience. And personal connections. I mean, honestly, I was just listening to this blog. It was a slightly different context, but it applies here too. Or listening to the podcast rather than a blog. And the author was saying that in this age of AI, where AI is writing resumes for employees, for prospective employees, and AI is reviewing resumes for the employers,
Yeah.
you always get perfect resumes, and like, how would AI even know who to pick? Because every single
Mm.
applicant looks perfect on paper. Every single resume is uh, dialed in for that specific job description. Well, the same thing is happening here. Every single bid is dialed in for that RFP, and
Yeah.
on paper, everybody looks perfect. How do you pick one? Well, the only
Yeah.
way to pick one is to have this face-to-face conversation. And so
100%.
those people who go out of their way for to show their work, to introduce themselves, to I don't know, even print up a little brochure on paper, even though everybody understands that that brochure is going to go into trash, but to have that, maybe old school, I don't know, write a little thank you note and mail it. But if it's written by hand, it stands out.
Yeah.
Just anything, any old school way of communication that makes you stand out, that's what
Yeah.
matters.
100%. It's those tangible things that can really make you a little bit unique and stand out above everybody else is doing everything the same way. And I agree. I mean, we're a digital marketing company, so it surprises some people when I talk about what the goal is for digital marketing. So social media, in my view, our primary goal for social media marketing is to get people off social media. Where do we want them? Into our website. Well,
Right.
and the primary goal for the website is to get people off the website into a real conversation with a real human.
Mhm.
So everything is geared around creating a human connection, because that's where higher dollar value sales are made. Now, we're not selling widgets that are,
Right.
an impulse buy. We're selling something of high value, of high cost, and lots of risk associated with it.
Right.
So people are going to want to talk to a real person who understands, who's on the ground, who knows what they're talking about, so that they can invest in their options. So that's what it's all about: creating those human connections in this crazy AI digital age. It's kind of funny, isn't it? Those you're talking about, the resume that's AI written, talking to the recruiter, it's AI generated. It's like just
Right.
computers talking to each other. So we've got to find better ways, and that's true in every aspect of where we're
Exactly.
moving as businesses. Got to find ways to cut through the noise and stand out and be
Right.
unique and authentic and different, and
Exactly.
draw people to your world.
Well, exactly, and especially in the marketing age. I mean, I don't envy your job too, because so many companies, I bet, are like, "Why would I hire you guys? I can just have Chat GPT generate all these perfectly looking ads for me and place them online." But then they all look the same.
Yeah. Well, that's right. Yeah, it just becomes generic, because what people do sometimes is just rely on the tools to do all the heavy lifting for them. So, as you say, it
Right.
comes out generic because it's just the average sum total of what everyone else has said. It's just gleaned a whole bunch of ideas from everywhere online. So, realistically, in my view, it's the real time to be unique and compelling and distinctive, and to set yourself apart in a human way, create human connections, get people off the digital platforms as quickly as you can into a real conversation. And
Right.
so, um, and that's built on the relationships, and relationships are always going to be proving the most valuable thing that a business has. Um, that's
That's right.
how would people contact you or get involved with you? You've got some resources, I believe, that people might uh, like to use.
Yeah, absolutely. So giscompanies.co, no M in there. That's our website. We do have resources for landowners who are interested in development. The classic one, the download that we're promoting, is a feasibility study checklist. So if anybody has a property that they're considering developing, uh, download it, check it out. It spells out exactly what you need to do to evaluate if your site is a good potential for development. And then we have a ton of resources there for investors who are interested in real estate development projects, and also for owners who are interested in developing their sites. So that's the main thing. There's also a link to my podcast, Real Estate Development Land to Legacy, where I talk to all kinds of interesting people, professionals from all walks of life, about what it takes to develop real estate, and challenges and opportunities, and y- all sorts of different projects that they've been involved in.
Yeah, that's brilliant, and it's podcasting is so powerful to share really niched ideas from experts in the field in which they work in, to get their real life, practical, tangible, useful resources. So that's great, and you've got the other resources as well. So would you say that the resources are practical, are useful for a global market? They're probably really tailored in some ways, but other ways they're general for a global market.
They're generally pretty generic in that regard. I mean, regardless of what country in the world we live in, we still need to evaluate if our site is suitable for development.
Yeah,
The resources, the approach might be different, the codes and regulations
yeah,
might be different, but the process is still the same. So
yeah, brilliant.
definitely very much applicable anywhere.
Yeah, awesome. So I'll definitely put those in the show notes, and so people can easily find those resources. Before we wrap up, there's I always like to find out, was there something we didn't cover, I didn't ask that I should have, and what would be the answer to that question?
Oh, good question. I mean, I could talk about real estate and construction for, hours and hours. My previous recording ended up going on for an hour and a half. So, but short answer is probably. But what I want to point out here is, you know, construction cycles is what I'm tracking, and just general real estate cycles. And a few economists that I've been tracking are forecasting a big growth cycle in the United States, at least starting next year. Consumer spending is appearing to be increasing. We just had an interest rate drop, so hopefully
Mm,
loans are going to become more affordable. So we are expecting a pretty good growth cycle. So
mm,
hopefully that means good news for many builders out there. If consumers are spending, they're buying more homes, they're buying, more real estate is being developed. That means more stuff is being built. So that's
yeah,
useful. But the same economic group of economists is forecasting a massive global depression in early 2030s. And
yeah,
I have been tracking that, and I am personally pretty concerned about it. But all that means for us in this industry is that the next 5 years is really a short window of time for us to make some serious moves and prepare for that big economic decline. So, if that
yeah.
helps promote the message to your audience, I think that would be great.
Yeah, it is interesting, and I mean, I can't give financial advice or anything like that, but I was hearing the stats of right now in Australia, and it's similar in a lot of ways. So everything's at the highest value it's ever been. So the residential property market is at its highest values ever. Gold is at its highest values ever. Crypto, everything's highly valued. But then
Hmm.
thinking about that, is it that they're more highly valued, or is it our currency eroding? And that's the
Right.
interesting part. And again, I can't give financial advice. I'm just a guy on the internet, and it's not my field. But for me, it feels to me that it's a time potentially to hedge against inflation, and to think about how you uh, find other opportunities to put your wealth into that might set you up for the long term, and diversify a
Yep.
little bit, and so on. It's curious. I'm not sure what what they're saying the catalyst is for 2030. Did you say? Uh,
Yeah, well, multiple different things, but generally, it's a combination of aging population, declining population growth in many developed countries, Australia, North America, Europe. You know, are populate. The baby boomers are retiring and gradually dying off, but the new population is not growing as fast, and in
yeah,
many developed countries is actually declining.
yeah,
And that combined with the massive amount of government, corporate, and private debt is
yeah,
the debt balloon is basically going to pop. And so, as you said, one of the ways that governments are fighting it is by devaluing the currency.
yeah.
And
It's
so, yeah,
certainly
so that.
interesting times. It's crazy interesting times, and for any business as well. You've got the shake up of AI now. Obviously, those in construction, swinging a hammer, it's not going to be done by a robot really soon, but eventually, who knows what's going to happen? But
Yeah, give them a couple of years.
yeah, that's right. It's crazy. I mean, it's disruptive of so many
Yep.
businesses, not necessarily in the end game, but in the
Right.
office space work and so on. Anyone behind a computer needs to start thinking about how they adjust and adapt
Well,
to the
exactly.
crazy
Well,
new
and I
world.
think MEP trays are probably safe for a little bit longer, but like general carpentry, I'd expect robots to be cutting lumber and nailing studs together in definitely our lifetimes.
Yeah, it's mad. So I was at a conference for trades and construction late last year, so about 12 months ago, and they had some footage of an Australian company who had some robotics. They were controlling bricklaying, like proper
Hmm.
bricks, laying by robotics in Canada. And so that was for the room there. Obviously, a bunch of construction people, tradies.
Right.
We call them tradies.
Traders, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they were just
I've seen
blown
some YouTube.
away.
I've seen YouTube videos of that. Was really amazing. So between brick lane and then tile, and let's see what else. I've seen automatic tile robot, like tile lane robots, and of
Yeah,
course 3D concrete printers.
yeah,
It's interesting.
yeah. It's a changing world, and we need to be adaptable, flexible, and think about what the future might look like. Thanks so much for the conversation. It's been brilliant, and I'll put the all those resources in the show notes. Thanks again, Eugene.
Yeah, thank you, Wes. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.